Hello, friends. It's Coach Andrea. I'm excited to introduce you to this special edition Intimate Partner Betrayal Awareness Day series of videos that were recorded live on August 4th in honor of Intimate Partner Betrayal Awareness Day. If you did not have an opportunity to engage with the conversations in real time, or if you heard them and wanted to revisit them, that is the purpose of these videos. We spent the day bringing awareness to intimate partner betrayal, advocating for a change, and allowing partners to have agency to share their stories. It was an incredibly impactful day. Everyone that you see in these videos dedicated their time and their energy, and I want to say thank you to each one. And if you stay until the end of each recording, you will hear the special offer that each of the speakers made. Some of those are limited time offers, so you don't want to miss the opportunity to engage. Mark your calendar for August 4th, 2027. Will be the third annual Intimate Partner Betrayal Awareness Day. But without further ado, I hope you enjoy these recordings, that they speak to your heart, and somewhere along the way that they remind you of the embers of light that are within you, waiting to be fanned into a flame. Thank you for listening. My next guest is Julie Calhoun. Julie is an APSATS partner coach. She is also a friend. We actually did APSATS training together. And so we've been on this journey for a long time, worked in some of the same spaces. Julie's also a trauma informed certified coach. Her practice is healingtogetherllc.com. And Julie is going to be sharing a topic that somebody actually requested, but that I think is really relevant. And so I'm going to bring her on before I go any further, so that she can join in the conversation. But Julie,
Hey, friend.
hey there.
Hey.
How are you?
All right. Excited to be here. Glad to be
Yeah,
here.
I'm happy for you to be here. I literally just saw a um, news article or news report about gray divorce. And they were saying that 36% of divorces today are people over 50.
Those are kind of staggering stats.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, and so there was she was a psychologist. She was explaining why, and talking about the changes in access that women have to finances and waking up in their life and realizing, we're not in the 50s and 60s where women couldn't get a bank account or a job or a credit card, and women deciding they don't want to live their lives, in this unhappy marriage, and because a lot of divorces are filed by women. She was specifically talking about women, but I know you and I were going to discuss that and what it's like to experience betrayal after a long marriage, and divorce after a long marriage, and starting over later in life. So thank you for stepping into this deep end.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking me. And hopefully, what I have to offer or share will be helpful and encouraging, but also I want to speak truth about the reality of what this is like. And hopefully, it will validate others' experience, and that there'll be hope in that. So, thank you.
Yeah. Can you just share a little bit of your story?
Yeah. So I was thinking today that actually yesterday was D-Day 11 years ago for me. After, at that time, I'd been married 31 years and knew nothing. I was blindsided by it. And you had spoken about that when you were sharing your story about and I really appreciated the way that you talked about how can you not know? We are not, when you go into a marriage, you're not, I don't know about you, but I was just not, you're not expecting that you're going to be deceived by your partner and betrayed by them. And so you miss signs that you can see in hindsight, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you miss them because you have no context for mistrust at that time. And so that
Yeah,
was,
you don't get a private detective
Mhm.
certification, when
No,
you get married.
right, right. And my spouse was giving me no reasons to mistrust him from my perspective, my experience. It was a marriage that I loved. It was not perfect, as none of them are, but it was a marriage I loved, and we had built a life together. And um, as others have expressed, it's the most devastating time in your life to realize what's happened. And that was my experience as well. Um, and I can't, since my betrayal did not occur when I was younger, I can't really compare it to what other people's experiences are when they're younger. But I know that in my work with younger women, I know I'm saying to myself, I'm so grateful that my children are not young and at home, and that I was not like your experience, Andrea,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not having to do that balancing act. Um, Yet, when you've got that many years together, um, there's a whole other set of things that you're dealing with when you're not young. And the biggest thing that I remember about it was this enormous sense of urgency,
Mm-hmm.
and urgency, because there is less life in front of me than there is behind me. And
Mm-hmm.
so and of course, there's urgency when you're in pain of any kind. Our nervous system is designed to keep us safe from pain. And so we're trying to get out of it as quickly as we can to stop the bleeding. Yet this is a
Mm-hmm.
kind of emotional bleeding that is very slow to stop and is reopened often. And so that was my experience very much as well. I will say that we got the best help that was available at the time. And my spouse was more than willing to do whatever it took to keep the marriage. And so after a full disclosure process and a polygraph and a plan moving forward, my commitment to him is as long as he was committed to working on the marriage, then I would work on the marriage too. But if he ever quit working on the marriage, then I was out.
Mm-hmm.
A year ago, my world fell apart again when betrayal entered my life again. And he actually left. And I told him as he was leaving that if he left, that I was done. And he left anyway. And so 11 years later, I am not I'm not 56 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that the impact this time around was worse
Hmm.
than it
Why do
was
you
11
why
years.
do, why do you think that?
Because for 5, 6 years, I think we really experienced a different place in our marriage, a place we'd never been to before. And
Mm-hmm.
he was working at it, and we were doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He was working to stay with me in my pain. He actually became a certified mentor and worked with other men that had betrayed their partners. And we had built a business together. And for reasons that I don't think I'll ever really understand or comprehend, um, things changed.
Mm-hmm.
And um, in a very dramatic way. And so I find myself going through betrayal trauma again, except on steroids, because I'm doing it alone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
meaning without my partner,
Mm-hmm.
and navigating the pain of the loss of a 42-year marriage.
Yeah. You are one of the, I was sharing earlier that betrayal is betrayal, but there are nuances to our stories that add complexities to that. And we already know the research shows the longer you've been married, the more significant the trauma. I think in your case, where you feel like, hey, things are going well, we recovered, we made it over that hill, and for the bottom to fall out again is devastating. And
Yes.
then, like you said, recognizing, okay, I'm not 20s, 30s, I may have less life in front of me than I have behind me. And how do I navigate that?
Yes. Yes.
So, that I think I shared with you, that was one of the questions that came in. Somebody said after over 40 years of marriage and your spouse just blindsides you and leaves, I think you can speak to that. What's a realistic expectation for someone to have for themselves when they're experiencing that?
Uh, I don't know how to share, to what everybody else can expect. What I can share is what I experienced, and um, the trauma has been blinding, and it is also, I think, exposed areas of trauma from the previous discovery that were yet to be healed. And so it's like, I think I fully qualify for complex trauma at this point. And it's just so many changes all at once. And not being able to sift out what's the most important when really what you're trying to do is just survive from
Mm-hmm.
day to day.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep your head above water, treading water, and being washed over by waves constantly. And I would say that for me, from my experience, and because the richness of the life that I have had, I've had the privilege of enjoying all the years that I've been alive, is that I have a vast network of friends, family, and colleagues. And I am still learning how to depend and put, to ask for the help that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, it would have been really difficult. And so I would say that may have been one of the biggest challenges for me, is realizing that the only way I was going to really be able to move forward was if I would allow myself to be helped by other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that one of your previous um, guests that spoke, I'm forgetting which one because I listened to several, but she talked about suicidal ideations.
Oh, Lynn. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I, you know, as I was listening to her speak, and she talked about the shame around that, and I can say that has been a part of my experience the last year as well. And what occurred to me um, is that what we're going through actually is death,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of layers,
Mm-hmm.
and wanting relief from that does not seem shameful, but
Mm-hmm.
actually a natural part of um, what I'm going to call, a right, particularly of women, and that's the ability within our bodies and within the way that we're created of life, death, and life cycles
Mm-hmm.
um, with birth, and that death is actually a birthing process. And so, because as we let go of the life that we've had, we're making space for something new. And as with delivering a child, the actual birth process is very, very uncomfortable. And more than uncomfortable, it's just almost unbearable. And, women love to swap stories about what you actually said that day, or other people tell you what, just push them back, or I want to go home now. We actually have these ideations of wanting to end everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that wanting to be relieved from the pain rather than carrying shame around that understanding that it's a normal reaction to a very abnormal situation. And so I'd like to, say that for myself, that I have been able to relieve myself of the stigma of feeling that, because that just felt like it would be relief for me. But it was nothing I ever really wanted to do. It was more like, God, just take me in my sleep. And if you choose not to, well, then I'll get up and try again the next day. So it wasn't that I didn't want to live. I just didn't want to. I didn't want the pain anymore.
Yeah. I think that saying it that way, Julie, so many people are going to resonate in the comments. They're saying you're absolutely right. It is a death and the ambiguous grief, but yet you watch this person go on with their life. That is very hard. The people, you have children that are still connected to them, and they're like, okay, I'm not trying to harm myself, but I'm in so much pain. I don't feel like I can live with it either. So,
Mhm.
What's the in between of the reality that I don't love this life, and I'm not saying I want to die either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's both and, right? It's,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you answered the question exactly how I hoped you would, which was normalizing the things that seem so abnormal. I don't know, I've said this before, I don't know that we have done enough research on what betrayal actually does to the body, to all the systems. And you know, talking to Dr. Sherry earlier and sharing about the wounds that they looked at, and just in conflict. Well, that's just a conflict. Imagine something so devastating as betrayal and divorce and having to start over and all of the things, like what that does to your immune system, to your brain power. And I really believe it will qualify if they really researched it. If you'd have a traumatic brain injury, you would have CPTSD for sure. You would have several other diagnoses, adrenal fatigue. Who knows? But that's why I say it's not just cheating, because so much of what is really hard about it, people don't want to talk about.
Right.
It's just much easier to say, okay, he cheated, she cheated. People cheat every day. People get divorced every day. You can move on. You can start over. You're like, but what if I don't want to? What if
Right.
at this point in my life, I thought this would be the enjoying the fruits of all those years of labor.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually just talking to my younger daughter about that before I got online. I said, it's kind of like when you're building wealth in your younger years and you're investing money into an account to, you know, grow money for you so that when you are in your later years, you can begin to, receive the fruit of all the years of work. Your children are grown, you may have grandchildren, whatever it is. And, my eyes were really turned towards that direction. We had already experienced some of that life together, some wonderful trips together that were, milestone markers in our life. And that's all changed. And so now I'm, in the throes of financial insecurity and, selling a house that, we raised our family in, because I can't afford to live here anymore. And just all these decisions that are kind of coming at me really quickly. And I didn't ask for any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is, a note to those of you all who support, and there's many out there that support women and men like us that are going through this. And one of the things that has been said to me is, Julie, you're strong. You can make it through this. And, I really appreciate that. I understand where they're coming from, and they're speaking what they see in me and wanting to speak hope in me. But what I say to that inside myself is I know I can do whatever needs to be done. I just don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, being in a position of place in my life of having to make decisions about everything, and every decision is a decision I don't want to make. And I don't really have anybody anymore to say, oh, well, that's a good choice, or that's not a good choice. I mean, I've got support and help that, help me collaborate with me and help me go over options and strategies, but the decision is mine.
Mm-hmm.
My kids may weigh in, but the decision is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I haven't lived like that since I was, 20 years old. And so it's a real identity shift. And that's been spoken of quite a bit today, about how your identity is just shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense of us that I have lived in my identity, and the sense of family, the broader sense of the word that included my spouse, is no longer there. It's no longer an anchor in my life. And so I felt kind of free floating, free falling. And
Mm-hmm.
that is scary, but also a necessary thing, because there's very little that I can control. And the harder that I hold on, the worse I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, it's, I'm still navigating that process right now. And fortunately, I have the tools I know how to calm my nervous system. I know how to do all of those things. And I know what's happening to my brain. I know who to go to. I know who my people are that I can go to for. But it doesn't take away the wreckage that has been left.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to say that can I share just a quick story that I was when I was running my little things on Facebook to flag the day.
Mm-hmm.
A friend from my past actually called me. I hadn't heard from her in a long time, and she was sharing with me a story about her mother, who had a marriage that failed. And when my friend was very young, and as she was talking to her mom about it later, when she was an adult and could have those conversations with her mother, she says, Mom, why did you stay with him so long before you left? And she said this, which I thought was profound. She said, it took 15 years for hope to die.
Wow.
And it got me to thinking about, I know you and I've had these conversations before, and I think it's common in the professional world to talk about partners as being some of the most resilient, fiercely loyal, loving people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's this idea that's internal and sometimes external, that's staying longer than you should, whatever should is, that there's something wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that what it is I think it is as how can I describe it? I think it is more a witness to our birthright by our Creator, where we have been instilled with hope. It is part of our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And to bless those desires that He has instilled with us to want to stay in our marriages and do whatever it takes to make it work. Now, sometimes that gets us in trouble because we do more than we should to make it work, and we try and do the work for two people.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be problematic. But, you know, for me, it's like I'm not going to punish myself over the things that maybe I could have made a different decision about.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the questions you kind of fronted to me early was, you know, what would I have done different, which I thought is a really interesting question. I'm not sure I would do anything different.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've sought to do is live into myself, to be true to myself, whatever that, at whatever point in time it was, and to live honorably, even if sometimes my behavior was not the way that I wanted it to be, but
Mm-hmm.
to live in honor and integrity, and when I mess up, to go back and make amends about that. And I've done plenty of that with my spouse, with my children. But I don't regret who I have been through the last 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like the person I have been.
Yeah, and you're just speaking to what Ashley and I were just talking about, which is you get to decide who you want to be. And
Yes.
you cannot tie that to who the other person decides to be. And I
Right.
think that that's not communicated very clearly when you're young and starting marriage and that two become one, but the two don't disappear. You work as one, but
Mm-hmm.
that there are still two people, and that you need to hold on to that sense of self, and that coming to a place where if the other person doesn't show up as they should, that it doesn't bankrupt you because you invested everything in them and nothing in yourself.
Yeah. And I know there have been times that I felt very bankrupt. You know, I feel
Hmm.
like I've been robbed, and
Oh yeah,
I have.
yeah, you have.
My children have.
Hmm.
My extended family has. My grandkids have all been robbed. Um, but I feel like at this point in my life, I'm learning how to belong to myself. And I'm thinking about things like legacy,
Hmm.
which you build that, but it doesn't become reality until you die. And so
Hmm.
it's like, who who do I who do I want to be remembered as through all of this? What gifts do I want to give my children
Hmm.
about what it means to be um, wounded in this world, because we all will be,
Hmm.
and what it looks like to die emotionally
Hmm.
and um, grow into yourself again.
Hmm.
And I loved that story that you read from your partner, the partner that about she called herself what was it? This she called
The
herself the
fire horse.
fire horse, that she renamed herself through the
Hmm.
process. And I think that's the opportunity that I feel like I'm at, is this transitional part in my life is an opportunity to rename who I am, and
Hmm.
the legacy that I want to leave.
Hmm.
And there's an excitement about that, and also um, there's a tremendous amount of grief around it
Yeah.
as
Yeah. Have you seen, I don't know if you're a Marvel fan, have you seen the new Spider-Man movie?
well. No, I'm not a great, I saw the very first one, and that was, I was good with that.
Well, there's a scene in there where Aunt May, who's Peter Parker's aunt, is talking to the girl who is the new villain in the movie. And but she's also, it was a message she gave to Peter Parker. And what she says to him is, and to her, right, that you are a special person. And she says, having powers, because the girl has special powers, can make life scary and lonely. And she talks about how, having power, something unique about you, opens you up for people to hurt you deeply. And she said, but people who love you not for because you're special or you have these powers. It's because of who you are. And reminding her that no matter how powerful you become, you still need people, because Peter Parker in the movie and the girl in the movie are both trying to live these isolated lives because they're tired of being hurt. People have seen their goodness, that they have something that is unique about them, and they have betrayed that and used that and consumed that. And it just really resonated with me listening to you that, yeah, we get to decide who we want to become, but we don't get to decide what people do with that. That we can give our most valuable treasure, which is our love, our kindness, our goodness, our faithfulness, and people can poo poo on that. They can throw it away like trash. And then we still have to decide to
Yeah,
love anyway.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Somebody in the comments said they're very sorry you have to sell your home and make
Mm.
hard decisions.
Oh, me too.
Hmm.
Me too.
Hmm.
I wish it could be different, but it's not. And
Hmm.
I am hopeful about the future, even though it feels very unknown and I can't see very far ahead.
Hmm.
But that's okay. Um, I've done that before when I can't see very far ahead.
Hmm.
And my faith informs and strengthens that, and all the little embers of light that, I was thinking about the pinpoints of light that um, the other, uh, was it Lynn, was talking
Hmm.
about the book.
Hmm.
And it's like you put all those embers of light together and you have a blazing fire.
Hmm.
And so I feel like I have that in those that have been in my life and are still in my life. And you're one
Yep.
of them. You know that, Andrea. So,
Yeah. Well, that's the back cover of the
right.
book, right? Is the flame. And that's what the story is about, taking those embers and turning them into a flame. And how you do that, how you have to let go of what people think and other people's opinions and ideas of how you should do something, and just be willing to go forward, like set your face like flint, and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you might stumble and you might fall, but the value, and that's what today is about. Not that anybody's showing up perfectly, none of us are,
Right.
but that you keep getting up, that you keep showing up, that you keep breathing when you don't want to, that you put one foot in the other when you'd rather just lay in bed and pull the covers over your head.
Yeah.
And I have a really complicated relationship with the word strength, because I feel like people use it to discharge themselves from helping. But it is a strength, and it's like, I can't let people taint the word, but it is a strength and it is a resilience. And seeing you, like I said, we went to APSATS training, so we've known each other in different phases, right? When
Mhm.
I was at APSATS training, I was still married, trying to file for divorce. That was a disaster. um, you were married and working on your relationship, and then we worked together again, and you were happy in your relationship. He was there, and I was divorced, and now I'm divorced, and you're going through divorce. So we've had these parallel lives, but these continuous intersections as well. And I just want to applaud you for you keep going. And Lynn said, keep walking.
Mm.
That is it. It is just like keep walking. Take a break when you need to,
Yeah,
but just keep walking.
I will. And I continue, even though I'm in the midst of, have been in the midst of this for the last year or so, it is, I still stay, I still have my clients that I work with. I've reduced the load quite a bit, but I do.
Hmm.
And it has been very important for me to stay doing that. And that is where I will continue to pour my energies and investments is into supporting others.
Hmm.
And I understand that my story might be difficult for those who may have known us and thought that, oh, if they can make it, um, this is a tough thing to come back from, and I believe it doesn't have to be this way.
Hmm.
And that's where the grief is very real. Is that it didn't have to be this way, and I had hope for so much more. Um, so I want to encourage those of you whose marriages are working and you are in it together. Keep doing that. And what happens in these failed situations is not a recipe necessarily for yours. And um, you know that's why we're here, me and Audrey and the
Hmm.
others that work with partners, and is to encourage you in that way. Because I still believe in marriage, even through the all of this. I still believe in it,
Same.
a full heart.
Which is why I'm a fierce protector of it. Why
Yeah,
I don't want people to settle, because
right.
when life is beautiful, when marriage is beautiful, and we talked about Viola Davis and how she describes her husband in the book. That just reinforced for me that that is out there. That there are, when you do marriage well, it makes everything better. And that's what she talked about, how having her mate made everything in her life better. And
Yeah,
she was already a successful actress. She was already, accomplished in her career. And so that is how marriage should be. It should be the cherry on top of
yeah,
a sweet life already.
yeah. It should be life giving,
Hmm.
and if it's life sucking, don't settle. Don't settle for that. Don't settle for life sucking marriage.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Don't settle for a life sucking marriage. You heard it here first. I love it. I love it. Well, people are saying thank you, Julie, in the comments, as I knew, everybody that's been on here today is so genuine, so authentic, that people have a felt sense of like this person gets it. They understand. And so you sharing your story, even in the still in the midst of the hard places, takes a lot of, I don't know what the word is to describe it, but it's just the thing that I love about you, right? That your knees could be shaking, your voice could be trembling, you can feel like you're dying, and when you know that it's for the greater good, you're like, yes.
And that was, thank you for saying that, because there was, there are people in our professional community that have tried earnestly to get me to speak in front of people and do presentations and speak at conferences. And I'm like, not my jam, no. And, but when you asked me, that didn't enter my mind. It was like there was a resonance, there was an intuitive sense of rightness about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with it, and I have not been nervous. I've been excited about it, actually, which is so different for me. I'm like, who is this person I'm looking at on the screen? Because she would rather be behind a black screen talking to somebody rather than in front of a bunch of, much less on social media. So
Right. I wish you could see you'll have to go back and look at the comments, people saying thank you. And somebody said, as a betrayed man, thank you both for sharing your vulnerability to help others. I hope you caught Adam Neesonson earlier talking about men get cheated on too. That was a really powerful discussion. But, betrayal is betrayal, and betrayal connects us in a way we didn't ask for. But once we're connected through betrayal, that bond is strong.
it's very strong. And it's like you were talking earlier about not being able to have superficial conversations. And it's like, it's go deep or go home, it's kind of what I feel like in conversations a lot of the time, because we talk about some of the most difficult things, and they're conversations that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And and they can be life-giving for others and for ourselves, and I would rather spend my time there. I can behave at parties, I can do that. It's just I would prefer to have a conversation that matters. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, where can people find you? Like, if somebody is listening to this and they feel like, you are speaking their language, how can people connect with you?
do I need to say my email address, or is it in the notes? You want me to say?
You can say it and then I'll put it in there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's JCALHOM, as in Mark E, TX1 @gmail.com.
So J Calhoun
TX
Tex 1.
Texas1
Mm-hmm.
@gmail.
Okay.
I'm in the process. It's going to take me a while, but changing all my business stuff, because it was a joint owned business. So renaming and all that stuff is going on. So
Mm-hmm.
you can find me there. That's the best way to find me.
Yeah. Well, you guys take a picture of Julie, because next year, if we do an in-person thing, you guys are going to say, wow, what happened to Julie? She's going to look so different from how she looks today.
What does that mean?
That means you're going to be on fire.
Okay.
Yeah, that means you're going to be on fire. I can already see
You
it.
say I tried to look good.
No, you look great. Somebody said to thank you, Julie. You have shared so much wisdom. I love you, and I want that T-shirt when it's printed. When you see that on my Facebook, don't be shocked. I'll quote you.
Okay, that's fine.
Say that it's your words, but I love it.
I didn't hear it anywhere else. I guess I can say that's so original by me. I'm not very original. I'm a copier, but that wasn't a copy. That was my.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you later. Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.